I was trying to explain what happens on Wall Street and with healthcare reform in the US to somebody, and I basically stumbled upon this concept, which I now call the false trophy syndrome. And that is basically the situation in which you have a prize that people fight for to achieve, but that prize should not exist at all. And a good example is of course the healthcare industry, the insurers that are fighting for the huge margins that they get and the profits that they have and the huge income that they get from as their salaries, while they should never be making that type of money from the service that they are supposed to provide, because of course initially you didn't have health insurance, and then at a certain point there was somebody that said, okay, I'll take the risk, you pay me a fee, and we'll be we do a solidarity pact, and we'll support each other's healthcare burdens when they arrive. And then of course the cost of everything went up, and when the banks get involved, it became a huge lending mechanism, and we got the same thing in Holland, of course, with the pension funds, where the pension funds, which is basically a savings account that should be put to good investments, so you get some better returns on it than usual because you have bigger numbers, are now treating the civilians, or the people that are paying these pension accounts, like they are, let's say, unruly clients. You know, we are the pension accounts, we are supposed to exist, and you are just being difficult. That's the false trophy syndrome. They are holding a trophy that they should not be able to hold, because the only reason why they have these big funds is because people paid up their pension fees. You know, they were created. It's just like you create a bigger force, you create a trophy, and then that trophy starts creating itself, because the healthcare industry, of course, lobbies Washington, gets more rights, gets more perks, gets more trophies to hand out to other people or to themselves. And the same goes for Wall Street, and where they of course have a right to front run your trades. If you're a big trader on Wall Street, but you're not Goldman Sachs, then you'll find that whenever you're trying to make a big trade with your stock, and it's really lucrative and there's a high margin, that Goldman Sachs will front run you and drive up the price just before you're buying, because they can do that. They have that privilege, and they shouldn't have it. There's no way to really work in a situation where you have a false trophy. And it's a little bit comparable to when you have a mining town with only men, and they're all working very hard every day, and their wives are a long way away, and suddenly you drop a beautiful woman in the middle of them, a very sexy, beautiful woman. Well, you see that everybody will start fighting and start trying to get her attention, and if they don't get her attention, then they simply drag her into a cave and do something horrible to her. But it will be a big fight, and she's the trophy, and she shouldn't be there. The best way to avoid all that mayhem, all that waste of energy, that burden on the basic mining operation that's going on, is to not have that beautiful woman there, just to keep her away. And that's what should happen with these things in Wall Street and the healthcare industry and all the other big industries. You can basically spot them very easily. If they make billions of dollars each year, then they're a good target for removing a false trophy. And the false trophy is created by laws that they have been lobbying for themselves, of course, well, you just do a review of these laws and say, okay, is it fair for you to have such and such right? Is it fair for you to have those and those rights? Are you as a company operating in let's say a comparable situation? Like, is it fair for Goldman Sachs to have millisecond or nanosecond access to the trades going on Wall Street, and being able to place their own trades in front of those trades in Wall Street? Is that fair? No, of course not. So you should, that's a false trophy, cross it out, and it will be a much more peaceful place.